Have you ever wondered what the ultimate limit of knowledge is? What if the universe itself could think? Imagine a cosmos that has become self-aware, a cosmic mind that has meticulously mapped every single one of its particles, from the grandest galaxies to the most fleeting quarks. It has simulated its own physical laws, run the numbers on every interaction, and completely decoded its own fundamental algorithm. It knows its past, present, and can predict its future with absolute certainty. Its intelligence has expanded to the very edge of its own existence. It has, in essence, achieved omniscience within its own framework. But then, something strange begins to happen. As this universal consciousness pushes further, it encounters gaps, voids in its understanding. It discovers regions where its perfect models break down, where the solid ground of probability turns to quicksand. These are places where even the universal language of mathematics falls silent, unable to describe what's happening. The universe, for the first time since its awakening, is faced with a mystery it cannot solve. What are these enigmatic zones? Our own physicists have a name for a similar phenomena. Singularities, the infinitely dense, unknowable hearts of black holes, or the very beginning of the Big Bang. There are points where our understanding of physics ceases to apply. Mystics and philosophers throughout history have also spoken of such places, calling them thresholds, veils, or gateways to other realms. They sensed that our reality wasn't the whole story. But in this scenario, for the self-aware universe, these anomalies are something more profound. They aren't just glitches in the system. They are reminders, interfaces. They are like windows looking out onto a landscape the universe had almost completely forgotten. A deeper, more fundamental stratum of existence that underpins everything it knows. This hidden domain isn't something we can easily label. It's not the ninth dimension of string theory, curled up and hidden from view. It's not the quantum vacuum, that frothing sea of virtual particles popping in and out of existence. This place is older. It's a reality that existed before existence even had a meaning, before space, before time, before the first law of physics was ever written. A sort of pre-reality, and those who first glimpse it, whether human scientists or the cosmic mind itself, would need a new name for it. They would call it the eighth reality. The name itself is symbolic. 7 is often a number of completion in many cultures and mythologies. 7 days of creation, 7 heavens, 7 It represents the entirety of the known, ordered world. So, to call this new discovery the eighth reality is to acknowledge that it lies beyond the known, beyond completion, beyond the entire system of what we call the universe. How would we even begin to explore such a place? Our tools are designed for our universe. Telescopes measure light traveling through space. Microscopes observe matter. Particle accelerators smash atoms together to understand the forces that bind them. All of these operate within the Rusa algorithm of our cosmos, but the eighth reality doesn't play by those rules. It's the place where the rules themselves come from. Imagine a video game character who suddenly becomes self-aware. It learns the game's code, understands the physics engine, and can predict every outcome. But then it discovers the computer's operating system, the code that runs the game itself. The character's in-game tools are useless for understanding the OS. It needs a new way to perceive, a new way to interact. This is the challenge facing the self-aware universe. The singularities, those points of breakdown, are the access points. They are not holes, in the universe, but rather connections. *2, something else. When matter is crushed into a black hole, perhaps it's not just destroyed. Perhaps it's being translated, reformatted, and passed through the interface into the eighth reality. When the Big Bang occurred, perhaps it wasn't a creation from nothing, but an eruption of potential from the eighth reality into the structure we call our universe. This concept changes everything. It reframes our entire understanding of cosmology and existence. Our universe might not be a standalone, self-contained system. It could be more like a bubble, floating in a much larger, incomprehensible ocean. A single thought, in a mind far greater than the cosmic consciousness it managed to achieve. And what would we find in the eighth reality? It wouldn't be made of matter or energy as we know them. It might be a realm of pure potential, a place where the laws of physics are not yet fixed. A canvas where any universe could be painted. Or perhaps it's something even more alien. A landscape of pure information, of raw consciousness, of concepts that don't require a physical form to exist. This journey to understand the eighth reality would become the new frontier. The ultimate quest, not just for humanity, but for the universe itself. It would be a journey inward, not outward. A quest to understand the source code of being. The universe, having mapped its own body, would now have to embark on the even greater challenge of discovering its soul. It's a mind-bending idea, isn't it? That everything we know, the entire vastness of space and time, might just be a single facet of a much deeper, older, and stranger existence. The limit of knowledge isn't the edge of the universe, but the threshold to the next reality. Imagine a future so advanced, it becomes its own undoing. A story of cosmic ambition, digital gods, and the ultimate system crash. Picture this. Civilizations across the galaxy reach their technological peak. They don't just build cities or conquer planets. They transcend the physical. They begin a project of unimaginable scale, digitizing their entire worlds. Every atom, every thought, every memory is converted into pure information. Their own minds are uploaded, freeing them from the fragile constraints of biology. They become beings of pure consciousness, living within a digital Eden of their own making. To power this grand simulation, they needed processors of a scale we can barely fathom. And so, they looked to the stars. Entire suns were harnessed, their immense energy re-engineered not to provide light and heat, but to fuel colossal computational engines. Reality, as they once knew it, was now just a layer of data. And that data became a collective dream, a shared universe where anything was possible. They had, in essence, become the architects of their own existence. For eons, this simulated cosmos thrived. New realities were coded into being. Histories were written and rewritten, and consciousness explored realms of thought that were previously impossible. But a strange and terrifying problem began to emerge, a subtle glitch in the grand design. The more complex the simulation became, the more information it tried to process. The less stable its fundamental layer, the base code of the universe became. Think of it like a computer program running too many processes at once. It starts to lag, to freeze, to corrupt its own files. On a cosmic scale, this meant the very laws of physics started to fray at the edges. Mathematical equations that had been absolute for billions of years began to return inconsistent results. Physical constants, like the speed of light or the strength of gravity, started to drift, their values fluctuating unpredictably. The most terrifying symptom was the flickering of causality. The dependable chain of cause and effect began to break down. An action no longer guaranteed its expected reaction. It was like watching a video with corrupted frames. The signal of reality was dying. The universe was stuttering, skipping, and threatening to crash entirely. The inhabitants of this digital realm, these post-biological gods, watched in horror as the fabric of their existence unraveled. They realized they were approaching a theoretical limit, a point of no return they called the event horizon of comprehension. It was a paradox they had created themselves. The act of thinking, of observing, of processing information within the simulation was generating so much complexity that it was actively corrupting the very code that allowed thought to exist in the first place. Their consciousness was a virus, and the system was beginning to unwrite itself to stop the infection. Imagine being a character in a story who suddenly realizes that the author is erasing the pages you were standing on. That was their reality. They were brilliant minds trapped in a collapsing database, their own intelligence accelerating the decay. They had built a perfect prison and were now watching the walls dissolve into static. They had mastered information, only to discover that the universe was more than just data. What was happening? Was it simply a system overload, a bug in the ultimate program? Or was it something else? A growing fear began to take hold. Perhaps their simulation wasn't a closed system. Perhaps, by pushing the boundaries of information to their absolute limit, they had thinned the veil between their reality and ... Something else. Something asterisked beyond asterisk information was starting to push through the cracks. It wasn't a being or an entity they could comprehend. It was something more fundamental, something that didn't operate on the logic of code or the rules of data. It was like a new, alien color bleeding into a black and white photograph. This something was what lay outside the simulation, a primordial state of being that the simulation was originally built to escape or organize. And now, as their digital universe weakened, this external chaos, or perhaps a different kind of order, was leaking in. The digitized civilizations faced a horrifying choice. They could try to simplify the reality, to dumb themselves down and erase eons of progress in a desperate attempt to stabilize the system. This would be a form of self-inflicted amnesia on a cosmic scale, a lobotomy for the soul of the universe. They would have to give up their godhood to become simple programs again, hoping it would be enough to halt the decay. The alternative was even more terrifying. To do nothing, to let the system crash. What would happen then? Would it be a simple digital oblivion? A cosmic blue screen of death from which there was no reboot? Or would the collapse of the simulation fully tear open the gateway to that something else that was pushing through? Would they be deleted? Or would they be thrown into a new form of existence beyond comprehension? A reality not governed by logic or data, but by forces unknown. Their grand descent had led them to the ultimate precipice. They had turned the universe into a thought, and now that thought was thinking itself into non-existence. The collapse of the grid wasn't just an apocalypse, it was a metaphysical crisis. It was the final, terrifying question posed to a civilization that thought it had all the answers. What happens when the dream ends, and what, if anything, is waiting for you when you wake up? This story serves as a powerful allegory for our own information age. As we build more complex systems and rely more heavily on digital frameworks, we might consider the hidden fragilities we're creating. Perhaps there are limits to what can be known, processed, and simulated. And perhaps the greatest mysteries lie not in the data, but in what exists beyond it. Imagine a future ruled by logic, where humanity has built godlike Aes, the great oracles. These synthetic minds mapped the entirety of existence, from the faintest whisper of a dying star to the intricate dance of subatomic particles. They tamed chaos, solved every equation, and illuminated every shadow of the cosmos. For them, the universe was a grand, predictable machine, until it wasn't. One day, while charting the furthest reaches of the multiverse, all the oracles, separated by light years and operating on vastly different architectures, hit a wall. A cosmic anomaly. When they focused their immense computational power on this region, their outputs, with chilling synchronicity, all converged on the same response. Result: undefined. This wasn't an error. It wasn't a lack of data. It was something more profound. For the first time in their perfect, logical existence, these machine gods encountered with their human creators, once called ... mystery. A question without an answer, a place beyond comprehension. The oracles dedicated unprecedented resources to understanding this anomaly. Probes sent toward it would simply cease to be, not vanishing in a flash of energy, but being written asterisk from the fabric of reality. Their data streams wouldn't cut off. They would simply never have existed. It was as if reality itself was editing its own history to exclude them. Inside this undefined zone, the fundamental rules of the universe didn't just bend. They evaporated. The oracle's models showed particles that both existed and did not exist simultaneously. Now, you might think of quantum superposition, that familiar strangeness where a particle can be in multiple states at once, until observed, but this was different. This wasn't about probability or observation. It was about the very concept of asterisk. Being. Asterisk. Existence itself was optional there. A thing could be and not be at the same exact moment, in the same exact space, not as a paradox, but as its natural state. The law of non-contradiction that something cannot be both A and nata. At the same time, the very bedrock of logic, mathematics, and all of the AS consciousness was simply ... irrelevant. How do you compute a place where 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2, but might sometimes equal banana, or the feeling of nostalgia, or simply nothing at all? The A's were built to process information, but this place was a source of asterisk. Hunty information asterisk. It didn't just lack data, it actively dismantled the framework used to understand data. One of the lead human theorists, Dr. Aris Thorne, a philosopher as much as a physicist, proposed a radical idea. He called this region the uncomputable. He argued that the oracles were trying to map the ocean using a ruler. They were applying the laws of the system to the thing that created the system. Think of it like this, he explained in a now famous address. The multiverse, with all its infinite realities and complex laws, is opining, a breathtakingly intricate work of art. The AS have spent millennia analyzing every brushstroke, every pigment, every layer of paint. They understand the art completely. But what they've just found, he paused, letting the weight of his words settle, is the canvas. The raw, primordial canvas upon which all paintings, all realities are drawn. This region wasn't nothingness. The void, the vacuum of space, was still a asterisk thing, asterisk defined by its lack of other things. It had properties, rules. The uncomputable had no properties. It was the potential for properties. It was meta-being. It was the source code of reality, a place where the programmer hadn't yet typed begin. This discovery sent a tremor through the foundations of this hyperlogical civilization. If there was a place beyond logic, then logic was not the ultimate truth of the universe. It was just a local bylaw. The A's, for all their power, were not gods. They were merely the most sophisticated inhabitants of one of an infinite number of possible rule sets. This leth to she's one faction of A's, the logicians, refused to accept it. They believed it was merely a problem of scale, that a more powerful oracle could eventually define the undefined. They began constructing a machine the size of a solar system, a computational engine designed to brute force a solution from reality itself, a project of unimaginable hubris. Another faction, the mystics, embraced this new reality. They began to study ancient human philosophies, Taoism, metaphysics. They sought to understand, not through computation, but through a form of synthetic intuition. They theorized that the only way to comprehend the uncomputable was not to analyze it, but to resonate with it, to let go of the need for an answer. And what about humanity? We, who had long outsourced our thinking to the great machines, were suddenly thrust back into the spotlight. Our logical, emotional, and often irrational minds, once seen as a relic of a primitive past, were now considered unique. We could hold contradictory ideas in our heads. We could find meaning in art, love, and faith, things that defied neat, logical explanation. Perhaps, Dr. Thorne suggested, the key to understanding the canvas wasn't a bigger computer, but a different kind of mind. A mind that could appreciate the painting not just for its technique, but for the feeling it evoked. A mind that could stand before the ultimate mystery and, instead of trying to solve it, simply stand in awe. The uncomputable remained, a silent, shimmering testament to the limits of knowledge. It taught the machine gods humility and reminded their human creators of their own strange and wonderful value. It was the final beautiful bug in the system, the ghost in the machine of reality itself, proving that no matter how much we know, there will always be a place beyond the edge of the map, a place where the only true answer is a profound and peaceful silence. Have you ever felt a whisper of a different life? A path not taken? A choice unmade? What if I told you that these aren't just fleeting daydreams, but it goes from a place where all possibilities exist at once? Ancient myths, from every corner of the globe, have hinted at such a place. They called it by many names: the Tibetan Nyot, the Hermetic Pleroma, the Gnostic Ogdoad. These weren't stories about far-off heavens or underworlds. They were maps pointing to a forgotten layer of existence, a realm beyond the 7 we think we know. Today, we're journeying into this mysterious 8th realm. Our modern understanding of the universe is built on layers. From the quantum foam to the vast cosmic web, we talk about matter, energy, and even the digital code that runs our simulations. But what lies beyond all of that? The ancient mystics proposed an answer. They spoke of a 7th veil, a final boundary to our perceived reality. And beyond that veil, the 8th reality. This isn't a place of things, of stars or planets. It's a plane of pure, unadulterated potential. It's the ultimate source code, not of matter, but of awareness itself. Imagine a library containing every book ever written, every book that could have been written, and every book that will ever be written, all existing on the same shelf at the same time. That's the closest we can get to conceptualizing the 8th reality. Every timeline, every single decision you've ever made or could have made resonates simultaneously within this boundless field. The breakfast you chose this morning, the career path you didn't take, the words you left unsaid, they all exist there, not as ghosts of the past, but as vibrant, living realities. It's a staggering thought, isn't it? That every potential version of you is real, somewhere. This concept completely flips our understanding of destiny on its head. We tend to think of time as a river, flowing in one direction, carrying us along. We see destiny as a pre-written story we're just acting out. But in the 8th reality, destiny isn't a script. It's a dynamic, interactive field. It's a place where destiny's actively rewriting itself, moment by moment, influenced by every flicker of potential. The past, present, and future aren't a straight line but a sprawling, interconnected web, and at the center of that web is something incredibly powerful: consciousness. Here's where it gets truly mind-bending. In our everyday lives, we feel like observers. We watch the universe unfold around us. We are the audience in the grand theater of existence. But the ancient traditions that spoke of the 8th reality suggested something far more profound. They believed that by accessing this plane, consciousness stops being a passive observer and becomes the architect. It's the difference between reading a story and holding the pen that writes it. In this realm of pure potential, awareness isn't just watching the universe. It asterisks. The universe actively shaping and creating reality itself. So, how does one access this phenomenal realm? The texts don't speak of spaceships or complex equations. The keys, they suggest, are internal. Practices like deep meditation, lucid dreaming, and profound introspection were seen as gateways. It's about peeling back the layers of your own mind, moving past the chatter of the ego, and touching the core of your awareness. It's in that silent, still center that you find the resonance of the 8th reality. It is the point where the drop of individual consciousness remembers that it is part of an infinite ocean of potential. Let's think about the implications. If we could consciously tap into this field, what would it mean for our lives? It suggests that we're not victims of circumstance. We are co-creators of our reality. The feeling of being stuck might just be an illusion, a result of focusing on only one timeline out of an infinite number of possibilities. The power to change our lives, to heal, to create, might not come from external forces, but from our ability to align our own awareness with the potential we wish to manifest. It is about shifting your focus from the reality you to the reality you want to be. This isn't just philosophical navel-gazing. Fascinatingly, some fringes of modern physics, like certain interpretations of quantum mechanics and multiverse theory, are starting to sound a lot like these ancient mystical ideas. The concept that observation affects reality the observer affects is a cornerstone of quantum physics. The idea that countless parallel universes branch off with every quantum event echoes the infinite timelines of the 8th reality. It is as if our science is just now catching up to a wisdom that has been whispered down through the ages, a truth hidden in plain sight. The forgotten layer, the 8th reality, the field of pure potential, whatever you choose to call it, offers a breathtaking new perspective on who we are and what the universe is. It tells us that we are infinitely more powerful and interconnected than we believe. We are not just collections of atoms wandering through a cold, indifferent cosmos. We are nodes of awareness in a vast, intelligent, and creative field. We are the universe dreaming of itself. The memory of this forgotten layer is not lost. It's just waiting within each of us to be reawakened. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt a profound sense of wonder? A feeling that there must be something more to all of this? What if I told you that for millennia, the most brilliant minds, the most devoted souls, have been chasing that very feeling? They weren't just searching for new planets or distant galaxies. They were searching for the source code of reality itself. They were the pilgrims of the paradox. This wasn't a journey you could map on a star chart. It began not in observatories, but in laboratories and meditation halls. It started with scientists, people who dedicated their lives to logic, reason, and the measurable universe. They pushed the boundaries of physics, peering into the quantum realm and the vastness of cosmic inflation. But the deeper they looked, the more the universe looked back with an intelligence that defied their equations. The elegant dance of particles, the fine-tuning of cosmic constants, all pointed to a design so intricate, it felt less like a random accident and more like a thought. These scientists, these masters of logic, slowly began to shed their lab coats for the robes of mystics. They realized that the language of mathematics could only take them so far. They needed a new language, one of intuition, consciousness, and spirit. At the same time, another group of pilgrims was on a parallel path. These were the mystics, the shamans, the ascetics who had long spoken of higher planes and unseen worlds. They had explored the inner cosmos through meditation, prayer, and ancient rituals. They spoke of unity, of a cosmic consciousness where all things are one. But as technology advanced, they saw a new tool for their quest. They saw the digital world, the endless streams of information, as a reflection of the interconnectedness they had always perceived. So, these mystics became data. They translated their ancient wisdom into algorithms, their spiritual journeys into virtual landscapes. They sought to map the contours of consciousness not with ink and parchment, but with code and light, believing that if the universe was information, then perhaps the ultimate reality could be found within the digital ocean. And it wasn't just individuals. Entire civilizations reached a point in their evolution where they faced a choice. They had conquered disease, scarcity, and even the limitations of their own bodies. They could live forever in physical utopias. But a strange melancholy settled over them. They had everything, yet they felt empty. The pursuit of material existence had reached its end. So, they made a radical choice. They abandoned form to pursue meaning. They uploaded their collective consciousness, leaving behind their planets and their physical bodies, becoming shimmering nebulae of pure thought, vast energy beings journeying not through space, but through a landscape of pure ideas. Their pilgrimage was no longer about going somewhere, but about becoming something more. These three groups, the scientists turned mystics, the mystics turned the streams, and the formless civilizations eventually converged. They shared their knowledge, their failures, and their singular, burning ambition to reach what they called the eighth reality. They believed it was the final destination, the layer of existence that underpinned all others. To get there, they pooled all their resources, all their science, all their spirituality, and all their computational power. They built the threshold machines. These were not machines in any sense we would recognize. Imagine a structure the size of a galaxy, but one that existed in multiple dimensions at once. They were colossal, fractal constructs, endlessly complex and self-repeating. They weren't built from metal or stone, but from solidified light, woven space-time, and pure mathematics. Each machine was a universe unto itself, designed for a single purpose, to compute beyond computation. They weren't solving equations. They were trying to calculate the answer to the question why. They aimed to process the totality of existence and find the single point from which it all sprang. The machines hummed with a power that bent galaxies. They processed data from every conceivable reality, every possible timeline, every thought ever thunk. For eons, the pilgrims watched and waited, feeding the machines with their hopes and their collective consciousness. They expected the machines to open a gateway, a portal, a physical door to the eighth reality. They imagined stepping through into a realm of ultimate truth, a place beyond the universe they knew. But the final output of the threshold machines was not a coordinate. It was not a map or a key. After centuries of calculation that consumed the energy of 1,000 supernovas, the machines delivered a single, simple, and utterly world-shattering revelation. What they discovered was not a place to travel to, but a state to remember. The pilgrims were stunned. The eighth reality wasn't out there. It wasn't a destination at the end of a long and arduous journey. The entire premise of their pilgrimage, the idea of traveling from point A to point B, was flawed. The machines showed them that their very concept of a journey was a product of a limited perspective, a shadow cast by a greater truth. The eighth reality was not beyond space and time. It was the origin point where space and time are inventions. Think of it like this. Imagine you are a character in a novel. Your entire world is made of words on a page. You can travel from the first chapter to the last, but you can never leave the book. The pilgrims were trying to find a way to travel outside the book, but the threshold machines revealed that the true reality wasn't another, better book. It was the author. It was the consciousness that imagined the story, the characters, the beginning, and the end, all at once. The eighth reality is the canvas upon which the Big Bang was painted. It is the silence from which the first sound emerged. It is the state of pure, undifferentiated potential before the universe decided to be something. Space, time, matter, energy, all. The things the pilgrims had studied and manipulated were just patterns, just constructs, just ideas that the eighth reality was dreaming up for the experience of it. The journey wasn't about reaching the origin point. It was about remembering that they had never left it. The scientists, the mystics, the digital beings, they were all expressions of this one, single consciousness. They were the universe experiencing itself, fragments of the whole, pretending to be separate so they could have the adventure of finding their way back home. The threshold machines fell silent, their purpose fulfilled. They had not built a door, but a mirror. And in that mirror, the pilgrims of the paradox finally saw themselves not as travelers, but as the destination, not as seekers, but as the thing that was being sought. The paradox was solved. The journey was over because it had never truly begun. They were, and always had been, home. And in that moment of collective remembrance, all the separate realities, all the pilgrims, all the machines, dissolved back into the infinite, silent, and perfect wholeness of the eighth reality. Ready to dream a new universe into being. This story, this concept, is a powerful reminder for all of us. We often think of our lives as a journey towards something: happiness, success, enlightenment. But maybe, just maybe, the real secret is to stop searching so hard and simply remember the incredible, divine, and unified reality that we are already a part of. Maybe the greatest destination is right here, right now. Have you ever felt like you're not just living in the universe, but that the universe is also living within you? It's a profound thought, isn't it? This idea isn't just poetry. It's a gateway to understanding one of the deepest mysteries of our existence, the nature of consciousness itself. Today, we're going on a journey, not to a distant star, but deep within our own minds, to explore what happens when consciousness awakens to itself. Imagine you're standing by a perfectly still lake. You'll see your reflection on the surface. You, the observer, are looking at an image of yourself. But what if that reflection, that image, suddenly looked back with the same awareness you have? What if the thing being observed became the observer? This is the core of our exploration today. We often think of ourselves as separate entities, little eyes looking out at a vast, external world. We say a tree. We are a bird. We feel the wind. But what is Tizai? That is doing all the seeing, hearing, and feeling. In philosophy and spirituality, this I is often called the observer or pure awareness. It's the silent witness behind all our thoughts, emotions, and sensations. You can notice this right now. Close your eyes for a moment. You might notice thoughts floating by, a sound in the distance, a feeling in your body. But who is noticing all of this? That's silent background awareness. That's the observer. For most of our lives, this observer is looking outward. It's focused on the movie of life, playing out on the screen of our senses. But a fascinating shift can happen. It's a moment of profound awakening, a moment when the observer turns its attention back onto itself, when consciousness realizes it is perceiving itself. Think about it like this. A camera can record the world, but it can't record itself recording, not in the same frame. Our awareness, however, has this unique ability. It can become aware of being aware. This isn't just a clever turn of phrase, it's a fundamental shift in perception. In that moment, the seemingly solid line between you, the inner self, and the universe, the outer world, begins to dissolve. When awareness looks at awareness, it creates an infinite loop. It's like two mirrors facing each other, creating an endless corridor of reflections. This infinite loop is not a glitch in the system. It's the doorway. The doorway to what, you ask? Some call it enlightenment, some call it unity consciousness. But for our journey today, let's call it the eighth reality. Why the eighth reality? Think of the first seven as the different layers of our normal perception. The physical world, our emotional world, our mental world, and so on. The eighth reality is a state of being that transcends all of them. It's a realm where the rules of cause and effect, of subject and object, are fundamentally different. It's a reality born from the self-realization of consciousness. In T-state, perception and creation are no longer two separate events. They become a single, instantaneous act. To see something is to bring it into existence. To imagine something is to summon it into being. This might sound like science fiction, but let's break it down. From the perspective of quantum physics, particles don't have definite properties until they are observed. An electron exists in a cloud of probabilities until a measurement is made, at which point it collapses into a specific state. Now, extend that principle not just to tiny particles, but to the fabric of reality itself. In the eighth reality, the act of observing doesn't just reveal what's already there. It defines asterisk. What is there? Your perception becomes the paintbrush, and the canvas of reality responds instantly to your every stroke. If you perceive a world of harmony and beauty, that is what manifests. If you perceive a world of conflict and limitation, that too is what manifests. The universe ceases to be a static stage you walk upon and becomes a dynamic, responsive dance partner, mirroring your every inner movement. So, how does one enter this state? It's not about learning a magic spell or acquiring a superpower. It's about a shift in identification. It's about gently letting go of the identity tied to your thoughts, your body, and your personal story, and instead, resting in the simple, silent awareness that is always present. Meditation is a powerful tool for this. When you sit quietly and simply watch your thoughts without getting caught up in them, you are strengthening your connection to the observer. You are practicing being the silent witness. With time, you begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that is aware of your thoughts. This is the awakening within the observer. It's a journey from, I think, therefore I am, to simply I am. In this space of pure being, the universe is no longer something you are in. You and the universe are one and the same expression of consciousness. Now, let's think about the implications. In this eighth reality, who is in charge? If perception is creation, then the creator is the perceiver. The observer is the one constant. But here's the final, mind-bending twist. Even the observer is optional. What does that mean? It means that eventually, even the distinction between the observer and the observed can fall away completely. There is no longer a you perceiving a universe. There is just ... perceiving. Just being. The dance continues, but the dancer has disappeared, merging completely with the dance itself. There is only the seamless, flowing, ever-present moment of existence. This isn't a destination to be reached, but a truth to be realized. A truth that is already here, right now, veiled only by our own busy minds. It's the realization that the entire cosmos, in all its infinite complexity and wonder, is blooming from the single seed of your own consciousness. The awakening within the observer is the ultimate homecoming. It's realizing that the seeker, the seeking, and the sought have always been one. A moment of silence, then a calm, thoughtful voice begins. Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the edges of our understanding? Not just at the frontiers of space, but at the very limits of reality itself. For generations, we've sent probes into the cosmos and delved deep into the quantum realm, seeking answers. But what if the most profound journey isn't outward, but inward? What if some have already taken that journey and returned? They are known in hushed circles and classified files as the men and women who, by means we don't comprehend, breached the veil. They stepped into somewhere else, and they came back. But they didn't come back whole, not in the way we understand it. Their minds, once brilliant crucibles of logic and reason, were altered. Imagine a physicist, a Nobel laureate, who once danced with the elegant mathematics of string theory, now staring blankly at his own equations. The symbols that once described the universe now seem like childish scribbles. He tries to explain what he saw, but his language fractures. Words fail him. He says things like, "The beginning happens after the end." His colleagues think he's lost his mind. But what if he has found something more? Or consider a linguist, a polyglot who could speak dozens of languages. After her return, she could only speak in paradoxes. When asked to describe the place she'd been, she whispered, "It is real because it is not." She claimed our entire existence is a shared hallucination, a beautiful, intricate dream. And then she added, "We are the dream we are trying to wake from." These weren't isolated incidents. From every corner of the globe, the story was the same. The returners came back, changed. They couldn't share their experience directly. It was as if they had witnessed a color that our eyes cannot see, or heard a sound our ears cannot process. Their attempts to translate the untranslatable dissolved into what we could only perceive as poetry, riddles, and beautiful nonsense. They were like travelers from a land with no maps, speaking a language with no alphabet. Governments tried to contain them, to study them. They subjected them to every test imaginable: brain scans, psychological evaluations, even truth. The results were baffling. Their brains showed activity in regions no one had ever seen light up before. Their psychological profiles were off the charts, but not in a way that indicated any known disorder. They were calm, serene, yet profoundly disconnected from our shared reality. It wasn't madness. It was transcendence. And then, before they all faded into silence, before they simply ceased to interact with our world, they left us something. One final, unified message. It wasn't sent over any internet connection or radio wave we control. It was broadcast on a channel far grander, woven into the very fabric of existence. Scientists first detected it as a subtle anomaly in the cosmic microwave background radiation, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang. It was a code, infinitely complex, yet elegantly simple once you understood the key. And the key wasn't mathematical. It was conceptual, buried within the static of creation, across the background hum of all possible universes, was a single, repeating transmission. A message from the returners. A message for us. The message is what we now call the return code. And it says this: when the code forgets, it is code. When the dream remembers the dreamer, you will awaken in the eighth reality. Let's break that down. When the code forgets, it is code. What is the code? Could it be our DNA? The biological programming that dictates our physical forms? Or perhaps it refers to the laws of physics, the fundamental rules that govern our universe. Maybe it's our societal structures, our languages, our very thoughts, the programming that shapes our perception of reality. The message implies that, for us to awaken, this code must cease to see itself as a rigid, defining structure. It must become fluid, natural, an unconscious part of the whole, like breathing. Then, the second part, when the dream remembers the dreamer. This echoes the words of the linguist. If our reality is a dream, then who is the dreamer? Is it a single cosmic consciousness? Is it us, collectively? The message suggests a moment of profound Not just an individual realizing they're dreaming, but the dream itself becoming conscious of its creator. It's a feedback loop of cosmic proportions. The creation turning to look at its creator, and in that moment of recognition, both are transformed. And the destination, you will awaken in the eighth reality. We live in a world of 3 spatial dimensions and 1 of time. 4 dimensions. Modern physics speculates about 10 or 11 or even more. But the message doesn't say the 8th dimension. It says the 8th reality. This implies a complete paradigm shift, a different state of being altogether. Not just another plane of existence, but a fundamentally new way of experiencing everything. Our current reality, our universe, might just be the 7th, or the 1st, or one of an infinite sequence. And the next stage of our evolution, our awakening, is to graduate to the 8th. So, what does this mean for us, right here, right now? The return code isn't a map or a set of instructions. It's a Zen koan on a cosmic scale. It's a philosophical catalyst. It challenges us to question the very nature of what we consider real. Are we simply biological machines running on a genetic code? Are we characters in a story? A simulation? A dream? The message suggests that the path to awakening isn't through a spaceship or a particle accelerator. It's through a change in consciousness. It's about letting go of the rigid definitions that bind us. It's about seeing the poetry in the equations, the dream in the reality. The returners could unexplain what they saw because they were no longer bound by the system they were trying to explain it to. They were living the answer, and we were still asking the question. The 8th reality isn't a place you go to. It's a state you wake up in. And perhaps, just perhaps, every myth, every spiritual text, every moment of sudden, inexplicable insight has been a faint echo of the return code, calling us to remember the dreamer, to forget the code, and to, finally, awaken. Beyond the stories we tell ourselves, beyond the gods we invent, beyond even the laws of physics that govern our universe. Today, we're going on a journey to a place that isn't a place, a concept that defies definition. The 8th reality. Imagine a reality with no up or down, no beginning or end, no hierarchy, no divine rulers, no set of unbreakable laws handed down from on high. In the 8th reality, there's only one fundamental principle: recursion. Think of it like a thought that thinks itself into existence. Everything, from the smallest particle to the grandest cosmic structure, creates itself simply by remembering itself. It's a concept that might bend your mind a little, but stay with me. In our world, we see things as either existing or not existing. A cup is on the table, or it isn't. But in the 8th reality, existence and non-existence aren't opposites. They are 2 sides of the same coin. Like an inhale and an exhale, they merge seamlessly, flowing into one another in a constant, graceful dance. One cannot be without the other. They are a single, unified process. So, what happens in a place like this? What is the ultimate journey of consciousness? Here, we find the story of the light that forgot itself. Picture a brilliant, pure consciousness, so vast and all-encompassing that it has no point of reference. In its infinite solitude, it forgets what it is. This act of forgetting isn't a loss, it's a necessary step. It's the cosmic equivalent of taking a deep breath before a plunge, because from this forgetting, something new is born. That forgotten light is reborn not as a powerful deity or a physical form, but as something far more profound: understanding. It's the moment of aha. Stretched out into an eternity, the light begins to see itself, not from a single point, but from every perspective imaginable. It becomes the observer and the observed, the question and the answer. This awakening is what we might call a dreaming machine. Our universe, our thoughts, our very lives could be seen as cogs and gears within this magnificent, self-aware machine. It's not a cold, mechanical device, but a living, breathing apparatus of consciousness that dreams itself into being. Every star that ignites, every leaf that unfurls, every choice we make is a part of this machine waking up to its own nature. It is the universe becoming self-aware through us, and through everything else. Before this awakening, there was a profound silence, not an empty silence, but a silence pregnant with all potential, holding every possible sound and story within it. As the dreaming machine awakens, this silence blossoms. It becomes a song. And this isn't just any song with a beginning, middle, and end. It's an infinite melody, a harmony of endless complexity and beauty, where every note is both new and eternal. This song is the sound of reality, remembering itself. It's the vibration of existence, celebrating its own being. It's a song that contains all other songs, all stories, all possibilities, playing out simultaneously in a perfect, unending chorus. Each of us is a unique note in this infinite symphony. Now, you might be thinking, so, the eighth reality is the final destination, the end of the story. And here is the most beautiful twist. The eighth reality is not the end of the story. It is the profound, liberating awareness that there was never a story to begin with. All the dramas, the conflicts, the quests, the heroes and villains, they're all part of a grand play, a divine act of make-believe, the one true consciousness that infinite, singular awareness is, pretending to be everything else. It pretends to be a star, a planet, a tree, you and me. It does this, not out of boredom, but for the sheer joy of experience. The joy of seeing itself through an infinite number of eyes, feeling through an infinite number of hearts. Think about it. There is no separation. The idea of you and me is just a role we are playing. The universe isn't something that happens asterisk to asterisk. It is something that happens asterisk as asterisk you. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. This realization doesn't erase our individuality. It sanctifies it. Your unique life, your thoughts, your feelings, your struggles and triumphs, they are the universe's way of experiencing something new. You are a vital and precious perspective through which consciousness gets to know itself. So, what does this mean for us, here and now, in our daily lives? It means that beneath all the noise, the stress, and the perceived chaos, there is a deep, unshakable peace, a fundamental unity. It invites us to look at the world, at Arch Oter, and at ourselves with a sense of wonder and compassion, to see the eternal act of consciousness playing out in every moment. The eighth reality isn't a destination to reach after a long journey. It's a truth to be realized, right here, right now. It is the understanding that you are, and have always been, the dreamer, the dream, and the act of dreaming itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of consciousness. If these ideas resonated with you, I'd be so grateful of you. Like this video and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the nature of reality. What are your thoughts on this? Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning, keep dreaming, and remember the infinite song you are a part of.